up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Writer's Room, and we are reviewing and recapping episode 3 of P-Valley. So this episode had a lot of different moving parts going on. In the first scene, we get some random guy in the VIP room with our girl, Miss Roulette. And Roulette is trying to keep her cool and stay professional in this and giving him the world. But she is already breaking rule number 1, which is they are not allowed to show breast or ass at this strip club. Do you remember last season? I don't even got to touch into that. But basically, she's already broken rule number 1. And the guy tells her to pull down her mask. And he realizes and thinks that her lips are sexy. And so he's like, okay, what about? But we do find out that she does get enticed with $1,000, what I think is the meaning of a brick. And so she performs a sexual favor for him. And we'll just have to see how Uncle Clifford feels about this situation, because it will come to light, you guys. In the next scene, we do transition over to the end of the night, and Mercedes is walking around here with her head held down, and she has a half-empty bag full of cash. However, Miss Roulette comes over and is like, girl, I'm an optimist. I don't think you have a bag half empty. I think you have a bag half full. Now, we do know that Roulette just performed this sexual favor, so we all know why Roulette is up and why her bag is full. In this next scene, we cut over to Mercedes, and she's just going to her gym and getting everything together. As we know, they have been in a pandemic this whole time, and it seems that her next door neighbors are moving out due to the pandemic. And so this is really weighing on Mercedes. She knows that she needs this money or she will be next on the moving truck. And she's just looking at pictures of her daughter, and we all know that she's trying to get her daughter back. And this episode really weighs in on Mercedes and the relationship she has with her daughter. And so because of that, she does end up calling this one coach who she was messing around with and dancing at the club with last season. She does call him, and they're talking about a sponsorship. Meanwhile, I still don't understand the meaning of sponsorship. So at this point, to me, this is about to be a business move, but whatever it is, Mercedes is nervous about it and really doesn't want to do this deal, but knows that she has to in order to keep her gym. But we see Mercedes is not the only one making deals this episode. We have Haley/Autumn Night and Clifford. They're talking about what it takes to sell this club. How can we get this club back up and running? And Autumn Night, Haley basically just wants to replace Mercedes. I know she's feeling pretty salty because she got kicked out of Mercedes' home last episode. So right now, she's ready to do what she has to do and put Roulette and Big Bone and whoever needs to go up on stage. And in this, we do find out that Big Bone does everything. Big Bone strips, she bartends, and now she DJs. And we're not talking about an aux DJ. She's actually playing some jams. So Uncle Clifford does end up letting Big Bone spin the tunes for the next night at the Pynk. And hopefully she can get this so lit that they can actually be in the black this time. We cut over to the next scene where we see Pastor Patrice. She's out there still giving out these care packages, and Terica, Mercedes' daughter, pulls up, and she's trying to get an extra care package on the low. And she's not trying to bother Pastor Patrice because Patrice does know who she is. And this part was kind of funny because we all have been through that where we said some slick mess or, I don't know, said our mom's first name and didn't call her mom, and she damn near popped off on you. But that's what Patrice does do to Terica. And Terica is trying to hide, and you could tell that Pastor Patrice is realizing something may be going wrong at home, and Mercedes needs to figure it out because she's clearly lying about wanting an extra package for her neighbor. We cut to the next scene very briefly, and it's just Lil Murda, Wody. We have Mississippi's promoter. We have all of them, and right now, remember, they're on tour, the Dirty Dozen, which this episode is named after. But we see that the white girl in the corner store is looking around like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get robbed. And we kind of have that vulnerable moment where Lil Murda doesn't know what's about to happen or whatever. Luckily, Mississippi does come out before the girl does hit the police button. And so that's good. They end up having a photo shoot outside, which was hella dope. I thought that they both looked great. We do also go to the next scene where we have Patrice's old pastor, or the one that she used to be under at her old church. And they're having a meeting. They have all of the women serving food, all of that southern jazz, if that's what you want to call it. But we do have Mayor Wayne in the back. He's waiting to speak, and we all know that the mayor is trying to rally up everyone in the city to vote on this casino. And Pastor Patrice stands up and is like, no, what are you guys doing? The mayor doesn't want anything to do with us. He just wants to use us to vote on this casino. Now, Pastor Patrice must have ruffled some feathers, because we do see in the crowd that the pastor of her old church and Wayne are looking at each other like, we may have a bigger problem on our hands other than Club Pynk. This casino is not about to happen for any of us. We then transition over to Miss Mississippi and LaMurda. They are out doing their thing. They're taking pictures and everything. We know Mississippi is like the queen of the internet right now. But we're told that her picture with LaMurda has been posted, and we know that Derek keeps an eye on her. And you can kind of see in Mississippi's face how she's like, uh-oh. She's got the whole Scooby-Doo going on. Anyways, so she knows that she has to go on stage and kill this. This might be the last show that she's able to do. If it was up to Derek, if Derek seen that picture, Mississippi's time may be up. But we do get into their concert, and the concert has everybody lit. This song is so good, you guys. I mean, I just want the P-Valley soundtrack at this point. We do continue on to the next scene. Terica is talking to Mercedes, and Mercedes has been kind of just dismissing this girl. Terica is the one being hurt the most. And with Mercedes' situation, that's why she's doing this sponsorship, so that she can get Terica back. At least this is her excuse. But you can hear in the pain, you can hear the pain in her daughter's voice that she needs her. And what do we see? We see her mom sleeping on the couch, looking like she's been drunk all day. Scotch is missing. And Mercedes is up in somebody's apartment condo, living her best life, getting champagne, a hot tub in the middle of the room, pole. Oh my gosh. But we do see that Mercedes is at the coach's house, and all of a sudden, we kept getting death stares from a woman, a beautiful black woman who appears to be the coach's wife, and she's in on this whole thing. And of course, Mercedes did say that she wanted the wife's signature if she was going to do this deal with him. We finally know what that deal is. It does seem that Mercedes is going to sleep with Coach for $10,000 in this scene. We then transition over to our next scene, which is LaMurda, Wody, and we have Big Teak up there. They see Pico, and Big Teak is really familiar with Pico. I guess Pico served time with them as well. But he sees that Pico is no longer rocking those red colors, and instead he has on blue. So it's already a problem with Big Teak, and he wants to fight this man on sight. But LaMurda does brush it off like, don't worry about it. He just tripping because he got beat up. And so Big Teak just takes his word for it and lets it go. But we see that Pico does stop Rome and is like, trying to shoot his shot with actually getting signed to a management. Because I don't think at this point, Pico has anything vicious against LaMurda. At this point, I just think he wants to dissipate his career. This next little cute scene, we switch on over to Mercedes, and she is giving Coach the Mercedes experience with his wife watching. Now in this scene, I did know, and I peeped his wife's face the whole time. Not only is Coach getting the Mercedes experience, but the wife is too. And she does join in for a little twa with Mercedes. We then cut on over to Andrew. Sad Andrew is once again still looking sad. Because he's lying to his wife. He's on the phone with his wife, who is currently actually working, unlike what Andrew is saying that he's doing. But she's still working at the hospital, and he basically apologizes for going out to this funeral and going back to Chucalissa, but he still has groundwork to do here, which we all know that he's really talking about Haley. He might be talking about Chucalissa, but we can all infer that he's wanting to stay because of Haley. Now, all the while, Mercedes is giving her Mercedes experience to the coach and is hugged up on the wife as well. We do get a phone call from the police, and it's actually them saying that they had to stop Terica. Why? Because Terica was driving a car and her mom was passed out in the back seat. Now, this is really good because Mercedes is able to actually come pick Terica up, or else both of them will have to sit in jail. But before we continue on with that, we do transition back briefly to Lil Murda, and he's just leaving outside of the club, and it's turned up. All of the groupies done made it to the back, and Lil Murda is stopped by someone who's trying to holler at him. And meanwhile, Pico is trying to holler at the girl. All the while, we have Miss Mississippi doing her favorite thing, staying on Instagram Live, or I don't know if it's called Instagram Live on here. But anyways, so Pico does get mad, and Big T comes to the defense of this woman, and it's like, you don't talk to a woman like that. And Pico gets upset at Big T, but he does scale back because he does realize he doesn't want any smoke with Big T. And he tells him, look, I was just saying, she's not really Lil Murda's type. And wink, wink, Big T understood the assignment and realized that he was trying to insinuate that Lil Murda was undercover. And honestly, I think that Big T is showing way more emotion to this guy Pico than he should. So there may be some truth to that. Now, once Lil Murda catch wind to this, that Big T is out there stomping the ground, okay, with Pico, he does come out to his aid, and Big T shows a lot of aggression and emotion, and it's like, get off me, I'm good, it's whatever. But we do get a sense of protection and loyalty from both Lil Murda and Big T. So I think that we're definitely going to dive into that relationship a lot more throughout this season. We next transition over to Roulette, and she's with Whisper in the bathroom, and she does state that she is out of some lady products, and Whisper comes to the rescue. But not long after, having a conversation with Roulette and talking about Roulette representing or embodying hell, and she's embodying the light, heaven. And so this was an interesting conversation because I don't really know what to make of this. I don't know if Whisper is truly, she looks pretty scary, not gonna lie, but if she is truly on the light side and just trying to make a way out like everyone else, or if she's even more effed up than Roulette. Later on, we get Uncle Clifford running down the rules and regulations of the Pynk just for the girls because he knows that the girls may be getting a little bit out of hand, breaking a rule or two here and there. And all while Uncle Clifford is running down the rules, we get Big L outside smoking his cigar and indeed breaking a rule. Now remember, Big L has been trafficking with Gidget's boyfriend since last season, and we see that he's trafficking oxycodone and a whole bunch of other drugs until they are interrupted by Roulette and Whisper, who come over there. And Roulette kind of has this stare off with him, which is funny because Gidget's boyfriend was just stating how he wanted to propose to Gidget and that this was going to be his last run with Big L doing this illegal activity at the Pynk. But between him and Roulette, I believe that Uncle Clifford is going to bite off more than he can chew with reopening the Pynk back up this early. We do transition back to Mercedes, and she is actually at her daughter's house with her stepmother, and we do find out that the dad, the father of Mercedes' child, has passed on, and the stepmother has been caring for Terica. However, this is where we learn that Mercedes was just 15 years old when she first had Terica by this grown man. And meanwhile, Terica hears everything that's going on and everything that's being said. And his wife, who is left behind after he died, who he asked specifically to never allow Mercedes full custody or even partial custody of Terica. Now, I think Mercedes used this as an excuse the entire time, and the daughter is starting to realize that every adult in my life has failed me, because you have one parent who is your biological one but doesn't seem to want you in any case or scenario, and then you have another parent who actually doesn't want you at all and who thinks of you as a mistake that her husband made. I mean, Terica is going through the trenches with these people. Meanwhile, at the Pynk, we do get that there's a dancer and she's trying to give a lap dance to this random man who is yelling about the DSLs. If you remember and watched the first scene of this episode, you know that the man had called Roulette's lips very sexy, aka DSLs. I will not say the word, but you get it. And so he's just inquiring about who is the girl with the DSLs because she's out here giving sexual favors to my homeboy who was just up here the other night. Now, we do know that Uncle Clifford has stated his rules in the beginning, so I think the strippers are starting to find out that someone here is breaking the one and most important rule that Uncle Clifford set forth for the Pynk. Do not have sex in my club. Do not show T and A in my club. Meanwhile, we have Uncle Clifford speaking to Haley, and she's texting Andrew right now about how much it's going to cost for them to even come to the table on selling the Pynk. Now, they're trying to come with $1 million. And Haley is like, that's not even enough for me to tip. That's not even the tip of what I want you to pay. You're going to have to pay a price plus the tip. Now, in this scene right here, it kind of lets us know that Haley is willing to sell the Pynk like today if they came with the right numbers. Uncle Clifford is just playing the game for the long haul. He actually doesn't want to sell the Pynk at all, but is trying to see what figures could come up for this if they do decide to sell it. Haley is ready to put it all on the line right now. Andrew knows this, and Corbin is trying to find a way out of this. And he's basically like, if you want to be the mayor and continue what your godfather has been doing, then the casino must happen. But in order for the casino to happen, they have to sell the Pynk. So do what you got to do, but we have to convince Haley to sell her part of the Pynk because we all know Haley is the majority. But we move on over to the next scene, and we have Lil Murda coming out of the club, going to the hotel, and he's clearly being chased by groupies up and down. Now, Rome does peek outside of his door and sees Keyshawn come outside, kind of like an angry girlfriend. Of course, you know, Rome actually manages Keyshawn. So he's like, since when did Keyshawn and Lil Murda go together? Like, she crazy over white boy. So when she does that, he kind of is realizing that Lil Murda may be hiding way more than what he's leading on, and Mississippi may be covering up for him. But then we get later on in the bedroom, Mississippi is really like Lil Murda's best friend. Of course, she is the only one that knows about his secret love life with Uncle Clifford and that he's down low, but she wants to help him, and she just has this like vibrant attitude. I absolutely love this scene because she's very playful, and you can see that he truly trusts Keyshawn and that she's kind of like his confidant throughout this whole thing. We also see that he's sending postcards at every city that he stops to Uncle Clifford, and it's really cute because he's like trying to come up with some things to say, but we do finally get him saying that he loves Uncle Clifford and that he wants to make it work. So it's a really touching moment of Mississippi just running around, very cute, until Big T comes to the door, and then all of that shit is just put on pause. But we transition back to Mercedes and her daughter, and Terica is letting Mercedes know, I heard everything that you guys said, and I want to know, why didn't you want me? And Mercedes is giving excuse after excuse, like, well, I was a stripper, wasn't nobody gonna give me any custody because I was a stripper. Or she was saying that, you know, the dad didn't want her to have custody. Her mom thought she was too young. Basically every excuse in the book. And Terica is just at the height of disappointment with Mercedes. And I think this was a moment that Mercedes actually saw that she really was a part of the failure around Terica as well as everyone else. Big Teak and Lil Murda are outside and they just smoking on one. And this is just a scene telling us the backstory of Lil Murda and Big Teak. We found out that they were in jail together and they really kept each other safe. They protected each other because we all know what happens in jail. And it seemed as though Big Teak may have had some type of fling with Lil Murda. And Lil Murda is really not on that type of level with Big Teak anymore. He's more on Uncle Clifford. He's in love with Uncle Clifford. And I think this may create some sort of disconnection or conflict between Big Teak and Uncle Clifford once they do stand in front of each other's presence. I kind of get the feeling that once Big Teak does meet Uncle Clifford, I don't know. It may be a dangerous situation for Uncle Clifford because Big Tika seems to be pretty possessive of LaMurda. The next scene we transition to is our girl, Pastor Patrice. She's interrupted. They are doing some illegal counting of money. I don't know what's going on in that back office. It was Mercedes' gym before Pastor stole it from her daughter. But she's in the back and she's counting money and she's interrupted by, you guessed it, Wayne and the chief of police. Now they came to visit Pastor Patrice because they're letting her know that she is breaking all of the COVID policies and the protocols to reopening her church again. Pastor Patrice knows what's up. She knows that these guys are gunning for her and that Wayne will do anything and stop at nothing, even taking away her church. I mean, whatever it takes, Wayne is going to do it in order to build this casino. One of the last scenes, we see Uncle Clifford. He receives the postcard from LaMurda, and we see that LaMurda has sent every postcard possible, and each postcard has something different in it. Uncle Clifford is trying his damnedest to not care. Like, look at him with that smug look on his face, like he not missing his boo, but we all know he is. And it does seem that he misses LaMurda just as much as he misses him. But we do move on to the last scene, which is Gidget's boyfriend and Big L. They are moving their supply, once again, the oxycodone. And we see that Roulette is getting out of a car, doing what she has promised Uncle Clifford to never do. She is prostituting out of the Pynk. And we all know this is rule number one, the most important. Big L and Gidget's boyfriend do see this, and they just have to bite the bullet and not say anything because Roulette is also catching them moving weight, moving oxycodone and whatever else that they're moving in order to sustain themselves. And it's kind of like a, hey, I'll keep your secret if you keep mine. Whew, Lord, this was a lot, you guys. What do you think is going to happen in this next episode of P-Valley? Please write it down in the comments down below. Do you think that Haley is going to sell if they go up maybe 2 or 3 more million? Do you think that Mercedes will ever get custody of Terica again? And do you think that Uncle Clifford is going to find out about Roulette and her prostituting in and out of the strip club, and also find out about Big L selling and moving weight at the strip club? Tell me what you think of everything down below, and I'll talk to you next time. See ya.